Hey everyone, what is going on? It's Wilson, and I'm just making a quick video on my story on how I went from burning out trading accounts to currently being a profitable trader. I wouldn't say I'm a very successful trader because there's always people out there doing 10 times better than me, and I'm still learning every single day. But I had people asking me about how I got started. Did I ever burn out any trading accounts? And just like every other experienced trader or successful trader, I think we've all been through those times where we were burned out with accounts and we had to keep depositing, and that was me. I had to start back off with a smaller account, but I never really made a video on how I recovered, and I want to share some tips with the newer traders who are kind of getting burned out, and give you guys some insights on how I recovered and learned to become a profitable trader. So a little bit about me. I'm an entrepreneur. I used to run a couple startups and I began my entrepreneur venture. Actually, I left high school to go to China and build and sell my first e-commerce business. This was way back in the iPhone 1 days. And I was making iPhone accessories, and that was how I got into entrepreneurship. I was very into business. I've tried everything out there: affiliate marketing software, e commerce, you name it. And after I sold my e-commerce business, I got really into tech and startups. I was based in California, where funding was quite possible. I built three software companies from scratch, and I ended up selling them. The last one was acquired about a year ago before I got into full-time trading, and that's what I enjoy. I realized that was my passion, especially being burned out from tech. Um, I've been trading for roughly a little bit over 8 years now, almost 9 years. And in the beginning, I started off with just swing trading and growth investing kind of trading, where I was buying stocks like Apple. And until today, I still do. I have a separate account for that, separate brokerage account. But it was more like long-term swing trades on stocks like Activision, which did make me a lot of money, and Apple, Starbucks, those things. But it was rather slow growth, and it was something that was pretty boring. I mean, it's not something you look at your portfolio, not even 1 to 2 days, and it's something to grow. So I got into day trading aggressively for roughly 2 years. And I did burn out an account before, so for those that were asking, I did burn out, and it was a $13,000 account that was my initial deposit for this day trading account, and I burned it out. I made a ton of mistakes, and I constantly kept learning. It was frustrating. It wasn't even because of the money. It was just so frustrating that I wasn't doing well, and I'm so successful in business, but how come I can't, uh, succeed in trading? And it was very depressing. I felt like I wanted to quit, but there was just something in me that made me continue learning, and a lot of mentors were helping me out, so I have to give them a lot of props. One thing I did really poorly was I wasted a lot of money on DVDs and training guides, and I realized that all those are just really generic information that you can find online on YouTube, like on my channel. If you subscribe to my channel, you can probably get a lot of these things that you will have to pay a couple $1,000s for. So I don't believe in DVDs. I don't buy them. I've bought many of them, and I've slowly, after recovering, this is after I burned out my $13,000 account, I deposited another 5,000 to get started, and after 6 months of grinding it out and learning some more, being more safe, I was able to become a profitable trader. Uh, Other things that I do is I'm a real estate investor as well. So I invest in a lot of buy and hold properties where I have rentals, and I'm also a startup investor because that's my space. That's where I came from. So I invest into other entrepreneurs that want to be successful, and I do a lot of angel investing on that end. I also have a separate investment account, a separate brokerage account where I only invest in dividend and growth stocks. So I do invest in those big things, but I barely ever check it, like maybe once a week, and I let the dividends reinvest by itself. And I believe that's you should never put all your eggs in one basket. I think of day trading as a business. So it's just like business operation. You make quick money, you can lose money. There are up days and there's down days, but with an investment account, you can invest in dividends, and it's a slower growth, of course, but in the long term, like 10, 20 years down the line, you will have a higher net worth. And that's why I believe in. So that's why I have a separate account just for that. And it's been able to grow pretty slowly and steadily at a good return rate. So never put all your eggs in one basket, and always invest your profits into something useful like real estate. So I have another account, as I mentioned, which is my main brokerage account where I keep for day trading and swing tradings. For that specific account, I don't let the amount go too high. The reason behind that is because each time I make enough profit, I deposit it into the separate investment account for dividend and growth stocks. And this is because when you have too much money in a day trading account, you end up getting a bigger position, you lose your mind, and then you get even more frustrated on those red days, right? So my trading style is pretty straightforward. I'm a day trader or intraday trader or momentum trader with a little mix of swing trade. I don't hold on to swing trades for anything for more than 2 to 5 days, and I only trade the ones with a lot of volatility and the big ones for swing trades. So I swing trade a lot of leverage ETFs like UGAS, JNUG, DGAS, LABD, stuff like that, and as well as the popular stocks like Snap, Twitter. I like trading those stocks because the history always repeats itself. I typically play around 2 to 3 positions at one time per day, and I only trade with my laptop. I don't use like 5, 6 screens like some of the top traders do. I don't find it's necessary. I trade with a MacBook Pro, and I feel like it's more than sufficient for me. So you don't need to spend a lot of money to get these popular equipments. It does help and it can help, but I don't think that specific thing will make you a profitable trader just because you have 5 screens. A lot of times it just gets too complicated and there's no point in that. Having just one thing allows you to focus more and focus on that one thing that matters. I only trade stocks with low float and high volume. So I like to see that there's momentum in it before I get into position, and I only play stocks with continuation volume throughout the day. So if the volume seems dead, I don't like getting in that type of stock, especially since I don't really like trading the first 30 minutes of the day. I don't like playing it. I think it's too scary. So I like waiting for the trend to prove itself. And if there's still continuation volume, that's when I like to play the stock. So let's talk about recovering from a burnt account, and I hope these tips can really help all those traders that are suffering through it right now or struggling through it. So first thing is that I had to tell myself, hey, I need to come up with a strategy and stick with it every single day. In the beginning, I was testing all these little things, and then I end up just losing. It was just like draining money out of my account slowly because I was losing. So what I did was I came up with a strategy that I felt most comfortable with, and I stuck with it, and I kept fine tuning it along the way. So it's like a compound effect. I kept adding new tips to it, like new learnings to it. Every little mistake I made, I would evaluate it. Why did I make this mistake? How can I improve it? How can I do better in the next trade? And I fine tune that specific strategy. I also look to learn something new every single day. And I always ask other successful traders for help when I'm stuck. I think the only dumb people out there are the ones that don't ask. There's no such thing as a dumb question, especially when you're looking to improve and do better. So I always have questions like I want to know exactly why this successful trader got in this position at this entry point, and why did he exit here? Why did he decide to get back in? Why didn't he buy in this stock? Why didn't he take this position? That was all super important. I wanted as much education as possible, and I pretty much filled my mind up with that. Another thing that I did to recover from a burnt account was started trading smaller positions. In the beginning, I didn't have a big account to start with, but I was taking these big positions in hopes for a quick scalp and for a quick profit. But taking smaller positions on more stable stocks was a lot more profitable to me, and it just helped me out a lot more. And then slowly I started increasing my size. In my other video that you guys can check out where I did an interview with Turbo Bob, he talked about how he started small positions and slowly range up. As you feel more confident, you can do that. But in the beginning, just step back, relax, and re-evaluate yourself and take the smaller positions. I also learned to take breaks. It's okay to not trade certain days. there's some days where the market just doesn't move, or there's nothing to trade, or nothing that comes up on your radar on your pre-scans. So why just trade? I used to think that I have to trade that day it because the stock market doesn't run for 7 days a week. So I was like, I don't want to waste the day. So I just got in random positions. I end up breaking my own strategy, and that pretty much killed me. I learned to do my research before entering a position. I don't want to play stocks that are on a hype train. Not, and what I mean by that is that people hype up stocks in chat rooms. I'm a part of a lot of chat rooms and live chats, and people hype it up, and then you go like, okay, right, when the market opens, I'm gonna buy in, and I buy in, I see it pump up like 5 cents. I'm like, okay, let me wait 2 more cents, and then it gets shorted like crazy, and I end up losing like 20 cents on the trade. So I don't like that, and I learned to do my position, and I learned to be patient. So that was one thing that I had to do to recover from a burnt account. And then I focused on what I'm good at. Ignore all the complicated crap. Like when you look up successful technical traders versus a successful scalper, they have different type of analysts. Like a successful scalper might be looking at the intraday chart and they're looking for specific things, whereas uh, a long-term trader might be looking at like the SMA 200 and all these different indicators, MACDs. I don't care about that. When I'm scalping, I want to focus on what matters for that specific day. So I had to learn to stick with one style and learn to only apply the stuff that works for me and not what works for other people. Another thing that I did was I made sure to tell myself to limit my losses at all times. One of the biggest problem was in the early days, I would buy in a stock, I'll watch it drop, and I won't exit. I'll be like, it'll come back up, and I'm just praying, 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 and it never goes back up, and it just keeps going lower, breaks support, and it continues going down. Then I end up holding it overnight. Oh, maybe there's a continuation play. Next day, it either drops lower or it trades flat. Now I'm stuck with this stock. Not only that, it's a crap stock. Second is I'm losing money every day. So I end up all my capital is being held up, and I don't like that. So if it drops below a certain amount, like let's say I set a mental stop loss of 10 cents, I'm gonna set that stop loss. That's it. If it goes below and it comes back up, well, that's another person's game. I don't care. If I did my research correctly, I'm sure that I will get in a good entry point where I know that even if I stop loss out, I would have still have made a good trade. And that's all that matters, is that I'm confident about my trades. And I know that I'm taking a good management. I need to, as a trader, as a good trader, one thing that I had to also do and tell myself was you have to have good risk management. And my style is pretty straightforward for risk management. Risk 100 and in order to gain 200. So if the stock drops by 10 cents, I'm out. If it gains 20 cents, I'll set a new stop loss and I'll watch it. So if it goes up by 25 cents, then I would do a partial sell. And then 30 cents, I'll watch it and I'll set a new stop loss. That's my strategy. And if I take 5 trades a day, I know because I've done my research, I'm confident about the trade that I'll win at least 3 or 4 out of 5. And that makes me profitable and green for the day. So I had to tell myself that. I had to analyze all the previous trends or stock before taking a position. I want to know everything about the company before I even do it. And there's a lot of time for you to do it. You can do it pre-market. You can even do it right when the market opens. I also like to wait for a catalyst to prove itself. And what I mean by that is I don't just trade on news. News is a hype train. I don't want to play that. I realized that when I did that, I was losing a lot more than I was gaining. So what I did was I watched the trends. I don't want to trade the first 30 minutes of the day. I watch to see how it goes. And I find a good entry point. I spot a bull flag. I spot a good technical pattern. I look at the RSI. I look at the volume. And then I get in. So that's what I do. I like to buy dips once I see the upward trend is coming in, not when it's still going downwards. So I had to write all these little things down that I had to stick with. I also told myself to never chase a stock. If it starts going up and is at a peak, why buy in at the peak? Don't buy the hype train. So I had to tell myself that. I watch and play it out. I wait for the pullback and I wait for the consolidation. I want to spot these type of bull flags or ascending triangles or stuff like that I like to trade, that I feel comfortable with. If I don't feel comfortable, then what's the point in trading? I'd rather not trade for that day. So never bag hold overnight. That's another thing I had to tell myself. And I did this. I wrote everything down. I wrote on a sticky and post-it note. I made a copy of it. I taped it to my computer, and I taped it to my wall, and I taped it to my fridge. And each time I broke that I broke that strategy, I would pretty much like slap myself in the face. I'd be like, no, not again. Don't do it. And that's a discipline you need to develop as a trader if you want to be profitable. Another thing that I did was I created a journal and I started writing down every single one of my trades. I want to know exactly when I got in, when I got out, and I want to look at it at the end of the day and say, did I make a good trade? So those were the things that helped. Well, anyways, thanks for watching. I hope that gave you a little bit insights on my story, how I got started, my life, and how I recovered from a burned out account. I'll be posting more tips, courses, and everything on this channel. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. You can always follow me on Twitter at itswilson8, and I'll be posting some stock picks on there as well. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a nice weekend.